um, series, our SAAM series, and we are just happy that you all are here. And because I want you all to get as much of this woman as you can, I'm just going to turn it over to her and let her do her thing.
Well, what an introduction. I hope I do not disappoint. Happy Tuesday, everybody. Happy Tuesday.
Yes.
Good rising. Happy Tuesday. It's a great day. Very happy to be here. Always happy to support WCASA and the wonderful work they do. And even happier to acknowledge Sexual Assault Awareness Month. Um, I think we, as individuals, need to not just put a month on that, but we need to stretch that out throughout the year, considering that that is something that our community is definitely in crisis with. So I'm Clara Flemming, for those who do not know me. What can I tell you about why I am here? First and foremost, I am a sexual assault survivor, uh, unfortunately, of multiple incidents. I also consider myself to be a thriver. I consider myself to have been a victim, but to be victorious after that victimization. I'm coming to you from Milwaukee, Wisconsin. I've been here since 1985. I'm actually from the South. I've never really claimed Milwaukee as home, but that's another story. I ended up getting here and just stayed, raised my family here. I am an author. I am not what I would call a professional speaker, but I am a professional person. And I think that that's very important to know. I'm very informal. Please talk back to me. Please ask questions if you have them, because I will get going and just keep going and going and going. Um, I can tell you that when I got the invitation to come today and I saw what we were talking about, I was very delighted because we sometimes tend to think of being a victim as something that lasts a lifetime. Um, we say, I'm a victim of, period. We are not accustomed to saying, I was a victim of, I'm no longer a victim of, I am healing from being a victim of. We get to victim and we stop, right? How can we pursue our passion and our pleasures if we get to the end of that sentence and we put a period? I'm here to tell you from my own personal testimony that it is not a period, it is a comma, right? It is not I am a victim, period. It is I am a victim and I was a victim and I have done X, Y, and Z. I have found X, Y, and Z. I was a victim, comma, but comma, I am healing myself. And I personally, for my own journey, I'm in my 60s now. I always say I know I don't look it, but I've crossed over into the 60s decade now. And my first encounter of sexual assault that I remember, I was 12 years old. So many years have gone by since then. And as I said, it's not been in my life a one-time incident. Unfortunately, there have been multiple occurrences, but I am still here. I am grateful I am smiling. I am happy. I am loving. And I am living my very best life, my very best life. How does that happen? Um, well, let me go back a little bit. One thing you'll learn about me if you've never heard me speak is that I tend to go back and forth, but this is not a convention, it is a conversation, right? It's not a workshop, we're sharing words. So just follow me. And again, if you have questions or comments, please chime in. This is not the Clara show. Um, what I learned when I first acknowledged that I was a victim of sexual assault, because at first I didn't know what that was. I knew what had happened to me. I did not have a resource center to go to. I did not have a WCASA. I did not have a Team Teal 365. I did not have those types of things. What I had was what happens in our home stays in our home. What I had was let's sweep it under the carpet. What I had was if we don't talk about it, it didn't happen. What I had was okay, but we're not going to talk about it. You say what you say, but we're not going to talk about it. There was no immediate, I believe you. And how can we help you? And how can we keep this from happening again? Um, it was just an avoidance. And because that's what was given to me in my community, in my family, um, the guilt and the shame caused me to then feel the same way. We're gonna just avoid it. Um, I probably did something that I shouldn't have done. I had something to do with this, right? And we've all heard people who have been victimized say those things, or we've seen people feel that way. Um, Now that I have gotten to the age that I am, I'm ashamed almost to admit that it was only recently in my life that I began to deal with those issues. I began to deal with those traumas. Um, it was just something that I carried. It was just something that I carried within me. Um, the guilt and the shame, not wanting people to know, or even saying, if I acknowledge it and give it too much power, it wins. Um, and in doing that, I was denying myself the opportunity going through the healing process and living my best life. I think so when I was asked to give a title to this presentation, I wanted to say we're going to call it Finding Joy on the Jagged Journey. Okay, because anytime you suffer any type of a trauma and you have to move on in your life, it's not easy. There are detours, there are bumps in the roads. Sometimes you have to go back a little bit and go another way. So it's not just a smooth transition, right? Um, Here in Milwaukee right now, we have all types of construction. So we can drive on the way somewhere and we have to take a detour because all of a sudden there's a sign that says stop, don't enter, go another way. There are orange cones everywhere, right? Stop signs that weren't there yesterday. And we have to adapt. We have to adapt in that situation. This to me is very similar. Being an older person who is a survivor and a thriver, not because someone else told me that, not because I have a plaque that says that, but because I knew, because I said, because I am giving myself permission to be so. Um, there are a couple of things that I have learned in that process. One is that we have an older population who are survivors, who I personally feel fall through the cracks. And I think there are a couple of reasons that they fall through the cracks. One, as I mentioned a few minutes ago, it's the history, the time we lived in, the sweeping everything under the rug. There was no Sexual Assault Awareness Month. There was no Denim Day. We weren't painting anything teal, right? We were just hanging our head and going on with our life and trying to act like that didn't happen while we carried those burdens that we carried. And now that we've reached the age that we have, many of us don't know what to do with that because we've not even been able to feel comfortable enough to talk with our own downline, our own sons and daughters, our own family members, those who come behind us and say, hey, this is what happened to me. This is what it did to me. We carry the traumas and the DNAs of generations before us. So you could look up statistics and I can tell you how many people my age have been victims of sexual assault. I could give you the numbers, I could give you the statistics, but the fact that we have a statistic means that there's too many. The fact that we're having the conversation means that there are too many. And because we're at a place in society now where people are starting to live longer because of all of the medical advances and technologies and things that we have.
Thanks for
I
calling Sick
myself
Haven. This is
am
Gail. How can I
a,
help you?
hello?
I
Did I
think
miss
that
that?
was an accidental
Oh, okay.
unmute.
Okay. I myself am a person who is diagnosed with congestive heart failure. I have a pacemaker defibrillator in my chest that is designed to get my heart going again should it stop, which has actually happened to me a couple years ago. If it were not for that advancement, I would not be here now. So we have all these things that are helping people to live longer, but we're living with our traumas. We have things that can, treat heart disease, things that are treating cancer, things that are treating diabetes, things that are, we have medications to help with dementia and brain disorders, all these kinds of things. But we've not created anything that helps with trauma. They were treating, in many cases, we're putting a Band-Aid on cancer. We're not treating the emotional scars. We're not treating the mental scars. We're not treating the low self-esteem. We're not treating the failed relationships because many of us who have been in that situation don't know what a healthy relationship looks like. All we have is what happened 30 years ago, 40 years ago, 50 years ago, in my case, 50 years ago. When I began to talk about being a survivor, I remember talking to SAAM Collier, who I see her name from Team Teal 365, telling my story, sobbing, and Sam can attest to that, telling my story. And even now, it just makes me real emotional because I did not have permission. I did not have permission to tell that truth. So many of us who are older, we were doing the COVID thing long before COVID came out because we were wearing that mask. We were wearing that mask that says, I'm okay, I'm good, it didn't affect me. But in reality, that's not true. That's not true. And I believe that we as a society don't bond, don't communicate, don't talk with, don't spend time with our elder population the way we should to help them address whatever their needs are, whatever their past traumas are, including sexual assault. I was talking to someone earlier today, and we were talking about not only is there a population of people my age who are past victims, but there are people my age who are victims today. Don't think that sexual assault is something that is happening if you're 20, if you're 30, if you're 40, right? We have that population in the middle, but we also have our young people. And then on the other hand, we have our elders who are being victimized today in numbers that we can't even record because, again, of the guilt and shame, the thinking that I should not have been in a position to let this happen to me. You have many elders who suffer from different things, different types of conditions, who can't even fully explain to you what happened or what that person looked like or how they feel, right? So they say nothing. They're not going to the police station and making a report. They're not going to the hospitals and getting a rape kit. It's not happening. And people believe that, oh, that's not happening as much as you say it is, because they're old. Who wants them? But those of us who are familiar, and you all who work in the field of some type of advocacy, know that sexual assault is not about sex. It is about power. It is about control. It is about dominance. And so in the jungle, the ones that are often preyed on are the weaker ones. They're easier victims. They're not going to fight back. They can't function at the level that everyone else functions at. So they're easier to pick off. So those are just some things to consider as you think about the older population when it comes to being a survivor of sexual assault, whether it was decades ago, whether it's happening now in our homes, in our senior living centers, in our rehab type centers. It happens every day. It doesn't make the news headlines like it should, but it's happening every day. It's not reported like it should be, but it's happening every day.
Thank you, sir. Who's could log in? My computer,
I'm sorry, was that a question? Can you repeat that?
I think that was another accidental.
That wasn't someone, okay. Okay, thank you, keep me on task. Let's talk about finding that passion. Let's talk about finding that pleasure. Not the kind of pleasure that we have on the surface, but that internal pleasure. That internal pleasure is the greatest thing ever when you have it. How do you find that after sexual assault, especially as an older person who's been carrying that for years and not dealt with it, or as an older person who is new to that unfortunate circumstance? The simple answer is that you make up your mind to do it. You give yourself permission to do it. You do not buy into the stereotype that says you are a certain type of person if this happens to you, right? And as tragic and traumatic as any type of assault is, it is not who we are. It's not who we are. So for me, I can say, yes, I have survived sexual assault. Again, it's not a period, it's a comma. But I am a mother. I see my daughter on here. I'm a mother. I'm a grandmother. I'm an author. I'm a friend. I'm a community member. I'm a Christian. I'm a whole lot of other things besides that one thing. And anytime in our life that we are struggling with a trauma, we have to put it in its place, right? We can't feed it any more than it should be fed, or it begins to grow and it takes over all of the space in our life. And I think too that our purpose, I believe that our purpose is also tied up sometimes in our trauma. I believe it's connected. I never thought when I was a victim, anytime that I was a victim, I never thought I'd be sitting in front of the computer, talking to you amazing people about my experience. But this is part of my purpose. This is part of my purpose. Part of my purpose is to tell my story so that someone else will come and tell their story. Part of my purpose is to talk to my children and let them know, hey, this happened to me. If it ever happens to you, come to me. Let's talk about it. Let's heal together. Don't let a stage 1 disease become a stage 4 disease until it consumes your life. And I feel very passionate about that. Sometimes when we go through certain things in life, we feel like we can't laugh. We can't love. This happened to me, so I'll never feel good again. I'll never enjoy life. I'll never learn to have a healthy relationship. I will never want anyone to touch me. We're human beings. Touch is part of how we develop. Okay, if you take newborn babies and one gets held all the time and the other one doesn't, the one who gets held all the time is going to grow. It's going to develop. It's not going to be as sick. The one who doesn't get held is going to have deficits. Studies tell us that. I used to work in a hospital here in labor and delivery. We had people that came in to volunteer, and their only purpose was to hold babies. To hold them, rock them, sing to them, talk to them, because we know that we need human touch. And oftentimes when we go through these kinds of things, we isolate. We stop growing. We stop developing. Something has been taken from us. We've been violated in a horrible, terrible way. And I don't tell anybody to get over it. I don't tell anybody to dismiss it. I don't tell anybody it's not a big deal. I don't tell anybody, oh, time heals all wounds. That's not what heals wounds. What heals wounds is work. Work is what heals wounds in this particular case. Whether that means you find a support group, whether that means you go into counseling, whether that means you give back to the community, using your story as a way to attract other people who are suffering. I feel like personally, I'm walking in my purpose. People are my purpose. And because I've been touched in an improper, harmful, hurtful, terrible way, I personally have taken that and learned the power of healthy touch. If any of you know me, I'm a hugger, right? I'm a hugger. People will run up to me with their arms out. Can I get a hug? Right? I'm not afraid of that human touch. I've learned that that connection is so important, and that far outweighs the negative touch that I've received in my life. Somebody talk to me. Somebody say something to me. I'm going on and
I
on.
was jumping
Chime
in. I was waiting. So
Chime in.
okay, we have two questions. The first
Yes.
one was, how do we support our elders and ask them about their experiences without offending them?
Okay. Sometimes it's not about asking the question directly. Sometimes it's about creating the bond. Sometimes it's about creating the trust. And then you get to the point where you don't want to just come out and say, have you ever been sexually assaulted? But you can come out and say, tell me about your life. You can come out and say, some things have happened in my life that I've had a hard time dealing with. What have you done at, in my case, 60 years old to deal with the tough things in your life? And a lot of times, once you create that bond, that trust will develop. Because we don't talk about this without trust. I'm telling my story. I trust you. Many of you have told your story to someone that you trust. So the first thing that we have to do to get to that conversation is we have to build that bond, right? We have to, Mother's Day is coming up next month. And so many people will spend time with their mothers, their grandmothers, the older women in their life. When is that going to happen again? Do I have to wait till Christmas? Do I have to wait till my birthday? Are you in touch with me regularly to know what's going on in your life? Are you asking me what's going on in my life? Are you asking me how I feel? Are you asking me about the memories of we in our culture, verbal communication has always been handed down generation to generation. Somewhere we've stopped that. So I, for instance, I'm a grandmother. I have grandsons, all of whom I talk to on a regular basis. And if I don't call them, or if I don't get to them, trust me, they're going to call me. The little ones have learned to use FaceTime and all that. They'll call at 5 o'clock in the morning. Hi, Grandma. Right? I don't hang up on them. I don't tell them to hang up. I want to foster that connection. So that's the first thing that you do. And then you have to learn that if you spend enough time around people, you'll see triggers. Learn your people, you'll see triggers. In our elderly population, when things are just happening, you may see changes in their behavior. You may see changes in even their sleeping patterns, their appetite. And although that can be caused by other things, especially in the elderly population, it can often be caused by some type of trauma. It can be some type of depression. Where is this coming from? Right? So that's what you have to develop that trust. You have to develop that trust so you can work your way. And you have to be willing to be vulnerable. You have to be willing, if something's happened to you, you have to be willing to say, Grandma, such and such happened to me. Has that ever happened to you? Has that ever happened in our family? You know, I'm trying to learn my family so that I can pass it down to my children. You know, tell me. I want to know. You can trust me with that. And if you do that consistently, I believe that we get results. And what was
And
the other question?
the next question is, can you tell us how your personal reflection shows up in healthy relationships?
Um, I can tell you that I am a people person. Um, for me, one of my mantras is you are not the worst thing that's ever happened to you. Your circumstance is not who you are. I'm a big believer in healthy relationships, and I go above and beyond to foster healthy relationships. As I said earlier, I'm a hugger. I will invest it in people. I want to know that I'm going to pick on Sam again. I want to know Sam's little boy. I want to know his name. I want to know about people. We so often will see people and say, how you doing, and keep walking. We really don't want to know. It's just a courtesy that we've been raised with to ask, but we don't really want to know. I want to know. I want to know. And one of the things that draws people to me is because they know that I want to know, and they know that that's genuine. Healthy relationships for me is about accepting people where they are and giving them permission to accept themselves. We don't have the ability in our society anymore to freely be ourselves like we should. We're always trying to fit in a box. We're trying to conform to something. We're trying to fit in, be a part of the in crowd. I don't want to follow people. I don't want to fit in with people. I used to want to fit in with people because I felt like I was not good enough. And in order to be accepted, I had to fit in with other people. Now I've gotten to the point where I'll say, you know what? They need to fit in with me. They need to fit in with me. Not to say that I'm better, because I'm not. But there's something about all of us that people can be attracted to. I check on people. I make it my business to find out how you're doing. Hey, I haven't heard from you in a while. I'll put a card in the mail. I'll call somebody and say, hey, let's get coffee. We're not so busy in this society that we cannot invest in the relationships in our lives. We're not. We're not that busy. I always tell people, the people who say they're too busy to get with me, if something were to happen unfortunate and I were to drop dead today, they would take the day off for that funeral. Why do you have to wait until then? Why do we have to wait again until we're so connected to trauma that when trauma happens like that, we'll just drop everything? Why do you have to wait? It's that give me my flowers while I live type thing. And we don't do that anymore. We're not checking on people. People are saying, I'm okay. Are you really? Sometimes people say that to me and I'll say, yeah, but how are you really? How are you really? It sounds good. I'm getting better all the time. I'm blessed and highly favored. You know, we have all these little bumper sticker hashtag things, but how are you really?
That's so good. Like I said, I always tell you, we just need to put some of the stuff that you say on t-shirts. But I digress. I digress. We have another comment in the in the chat. And also, if y'all are comfortable enough with coming off the chat to ask your questions, please feel free to do that. Also, if you are not, Angie and I will ask the questions for you. So this question is, how do you handle so many other people's hurts? You are a trusted person to so many other people. I know it becomes heavy. How do you balance that without being triggered?
Oof, good question. Very good question. I struggle with that, but I have learned that those who intercede need intercession. And so sometimes I will call someone and say, I need some prayer, and I'm too tired and I'm too drained to do it for myself. Sometimes I will have to tell people no. Sometimes I will have to tell people, the last 3 times I talked to you, you talked to me about this same thing. So what is the solution, right? What are we going to do about it? Because we keep recycling. And sometimes you just have to know, I just have to know when I need to dismiss myself. Sometimes people just want your time because they just want your time, right? And they will use it if you give it to them. And then they go on with their life and you're totally invested or exhausted. So you have to remember, if someone wastes 8 minutes of your time, the last 6 are on you. So I try to be intentional. I used to think it was wrong to do that, but I've learned in part of my own healing journey to take care of me. So when I reach my capacity, I reach my capacity. And that's it. It's, people will call and say, can you pray for me? Did you pray for yourself? Did you pray for yourself? Because it starts with you. What did you do to try to help your situation? But it does get to be a lot sometimes, but I try to be intentional in managing that. I see a hand.
Okay.
Leah. Hey, Leah.
Good morning, y'all. Hey, Ma.
Good morning, sweetie.
This is good. This is really, really good. So, I'm the one who asked the question. I want to go back if I can. I asked the question just about, like, you said building that bond with
Mhm.
like, elderly people helps.
Mhm.
Um,
Mhm.
and I'm just noticing, like, not just with my mom, but just like I'm
Mhm.
hanging out with a little bit more older people. And so it's like, me, I'm always about, heal this, heal that, let's talk about it. And some people just don't be going, like, just not going. Um, and so, like, I just wanted to make sure that I'm not doing anything wrong, you know, because I want to, create the space, but then I also don't want to offend people because
Mhm.
everybody not open like me, to talk about things that they've been through.
Mhm.
And then, like, making sure that, one, I'm not triggering them, back to that
Mhm.
place, but that I
Mhm.
have some type of like solution to talk about it.
And
And
it
so, like,
might be, Leah, that everybody's not going to be that forthcoming with you.
yeah.
You and I talk all the time. We can talk about anything,
Mhm.
right? But
Mhm.
everyone is not like that. But for those who you want to get to in that way that you can't, and they
Mhm.
don't want to go that deep, let them go as deep as they want to, because
Mhm.
that still gives them a place to feel valued.
Right.
People who have been sexually assaulted, and I think especially old people, because we feel like we're supposed to be at a certain place in our life. right? We're
Mhm.
not supposed to go through certain things. We're supposed to know better. Those things aren't supposed to happen to me. I'm established. Um, and some of us who have a twisted reality will say, I wasn't dressed like that. You know, I don't dress like those younger girls. Why did that happen to me? Right? We have all these things that we'll say, and we feel worthless. We feel
Mhm.
worthless. So an older victim of sexual assault may never tell their story. Maybe they can't, but what they
Mhm.
can do is gain some self-respect,
Mhm.
some worth, some knowing that they have something to contribute.
Mhm.
Sexual assault takes everything from you. It
Yeah.
strips you down to nothing.
Yeah.
It strips you down. You can't even look at yourself in the mirror.
Yeah.
So they may never open up to you if they're a victim and say, I was a victim. This happened to me when I was young.
Mhm.
But again, by creating that bond, you're giving them back something that was taken.
That's good.
You're allowing them to see that they're still contributing. You're allowing them to see that, hey, I'm still somebody that Leah genuinely wants to spend time with.
Yeah.
And our older population, we struggle to fit in sometimes. You know, we just had this talk about me, trying to stay relevant. I need to know
Mhm.
the songs. I need to know all the words. I need to know the slang. But at the
Yeah.
end of the day, I got 30 years of life on you,
Right. Right. Right.
right? I got 30 years of life on you. I'm an elder,
Mhm.
you know. I've paid my dues,
Yeah.
but I don't want to just sit back in a rocking chair
Right.
on the porch, um, knitting Afghans and making cookies. I want to contribute. I want to matter. I want to
That's
feel
right.
needed. I want to have something that you want from me that
Mhm.
doesn't involve you taking it from me.
It's good. Thank you, Mom. That was good.
Mm-hmm.
Sam, you had a question?
Yep, I had a question too. Yep, I am loving this statewide takeover that you're doing right here, Mama Claire. I am enjoying all of the gems. I am enjoying all the nods of heads and how people are learning from the wisdom that you are dropping. But I just wanted you, just since you have so many service providers, locally and statewide on the call, could you talk a little bit more about the power of our no and how that is self-care? Because in a lot of this anti-violence work, a few of us don't know how to say that in a self-caring way. And we're doing a dissatisfaction to the anti-violence work. So if you could just talk a little bit about that self-care and that reflection and how important that is, so that when the amazing individuals get off this call, they will know that they have the power to say no, and they're still just as powerful as they were saying no, making sure that they take care of themselves. I think that's really big, Mama. Thank you.
Absolutely.
I mean, Claire Fleming.
Don't act like you don't know me. The power of saying no. No for me was a word that didn't exist at one time, as I said. And when I did start learning to say no, I would say things like, no, I can't because whatever. No, I can't come because I gotta whatever. And I would find myself having to justify to you that I'm saying no. And people in advocacy, people who do this type of work that you all do, feel like they have to work 28 hours a day, 8 days a week, or they're not being effective. One of the most important things that you can do to teach people how to take care of themselves is to let them see you taking care of yourself. You are not the only person in the world who can help them. If they call you, Sam, for instance, you're called on, okay, because you are the Team Teal 365 founder. You have a network of people. You don't have to take every call. Every crisis does not have to land in your lap. You are perfectly within your rights to say, you know, I can't, but let me give you Leah's number. Let me connect you to one of my staff, one of my volunteers. People do not have unlimited access to you. People who are survivors of trauma, someone came along and invaded their space and gave themselves access to them. So we should not turn around and tell that person who's been victimized that you can do the same thing with my time. Not that I don't support your cause, because I do and I believe you. But no. You teach people how to treat themselves by how you treat yourself. Excuse me. Does that help? You're not a 24-hour automated machine. You are a person. And you get to a point where if you let everyone invade on you like that all the time, you yourself are being traumatized. Because you're being weighed down. You're allowing things to dump into you, dump into you, dump into you, dump. What do you do with all that? When do you get time to breathe? Yeah, it's perfectly okay to say, how many of you have seen the movie The Five Heartbeats, where Big Red says, my office hours are from 9 to 5, right? 9 to 5. After that, here are some numbers that you can call. Because there is no honor in being a martyr, y'all. Please know that. If you don't get anything else from me today, there is no honor in being the one. Every hill is not yours to die on. Every cross is not yours to bear. It's just not. You're not designed for that. You're a vessel that can take so much, and that's it. And then you have to reset, and you have to plug in for yourself or unplug, depending on your perspective. Yeah, please learn the power of no. Please learn that. If you don't learn anything else for yourself, learn that. And say it with authority. And don't explain it. It's no, period. No, period. No is a complete sentence. When you start offering explanations, you're justifying. You're defending yourself. And you don't have to do that. You just don't.
That was good. That was super good, Mama. I love you. And
I love you too.
This is an amazing conversation and a needed conversation, but I have a special message from you for you. Hold on.
Hey, Ma, can you see me?
Yes, sweetie, I see you.
So I and I ain't gonna take up too much time at all. I just been kind of sitting at my desk and listening to the conversation. As your son, yes, and as an adult Black man who was raising a Black son, it does my heart some good to hear you speak like this, to hear you heal the folks on this call, to hear you testify and minister on this call. It gives me hope, and it gives me a mandate to know that, as a reminder to know that women and men are safe around me. They will be safe around my son. They will be safe in all spaces that I find myself tapped into. So I just wanted to come on cam and just love on you real quick and just say I'm proud of you, because I can remember years ago when you started your journey writing your book, and now your book is in the atmosphere with awards. Now you're teaching and preaching all around the state. So they love you on this call. I can tell that they love you on this call. I can hear that they love you on this call. They don't love you how I love you on this call. So I just wanted to stop in and say that I love you.
Okay, I'll make you cookies. That's my son, y'all. And the fact that he just popped in, goes back to what I was saying earlier, addressing Leah's question about relationships with elders. My children are my best friends. I have two biological, a lot of other ones, but they came out of this home. There's two, him and his sister. When I tell you we talk about everything, when I say everything, I mean everything. Everything. And people will tell you, when it comes to older people and younger people, my son's in his third, so I'm almost twice his age. People will say all the time, you're not your child's friend. You're not their friend, you're their parent. That's not true. I don't subscribe to that. People do what they want to do, but in my house, that's never been the theory. And because we create that divide, I don't want to be your friend, I'm your parent, it makes it very hard for young people to then come to us and talk to us like they would a friend. We have to really get away from that. And that's part of the reason we don't have those bonds after a certain point. You know, kids go off and do their thing, parents are doing their thing. I'll talk to you about this, but not about this. We have to get back to those of you that have children. Don't think you're not their, don't tell them I'm not your friend. When you are a victim of sexual assault, any other type of assault, any trauma, one of the first things you need is a trusted friend. Because I will be embarrassed to come to you as my parent, right? But I can come to you as my friend. Because a parent, you're going to get the judgment. You know, you might get the questions that don't have anything to do with the fact that I'm suffering. Why were you there? What, you know, all these judgmental type. Your friend, you need a friend. Crystal, who was just talking, will tell you that. Sometimes you need a friend. You need a parent who's going to be that friend. Right, Crystal? You need what you need. And we have to stop putting our situation as elders. We don't sit up on a stool. We don't sit in a high place looking down. We get down there. We walk with our youth. We bond with them. We talk to them. We let them be authentic. We don't judge. And in doing that, it helps them to find joy on whatever their journey is. We have all this division, and we can't do that. We can't, that's not effective. We've been doing it, and how is that working for us? It's not working. I hear parents say to me, well, you know, my children, such and such and such, and, you know, they this and they that. You know what I mean? And my response is, no, I don't know what you mean. Because I don't have that problem. Me and mine are cool. I don't have that problem. So I don't know.
I pray that one day my mother and I have that bond, that friendship. And I think just hearing you talk today, I think that's the missing link. We've never been friends. It's always been mother-daughter situation. But until that happens, I'm so grateful. You stand in the gap so much. And my journey is better because of you. And not that you're a replacement for my mom or our relationship, but you add value and you still you're my friend, you're my mother, you're my ride or die, you're a lot of things to me. And I'm so grateful that you wear many hats in my life. I wouldn't be here without your guidance and your love and your care, or your family for that matter. So I just really want to give you your flowers because I don't know where I would be without you being added to my life. So yeah, I'm grateful to God for that. And I
Oh,
pray that the prayers that you pray for me and my mother's relationship, that it comes to fruition. So yeah.
Thank you, Crystal. Thank you. You had to get the tears. Okay.
Okay, everybody go get your tissue, get some water.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
My coworker just sent me a text message like, okay, if somebody start crying, I'm gonna start crying too. So yeah, we're gonna take all that in. You deserve all of the love that has been given to you at this moment. So take a
Our
look.
generational relationships, though, this is how we've gotten where we are.
For sure.
This is how we've gotten where we are. Unfortunately, we're at a place, like Crystal was just saying, where, and I said it before and I'll say it again, we have to, it's not just our younger people coming to us, but it's us being able to go to them, right? As respectfully as possible, in a safe space, and talk. A few years ago, I wrote a book called Reflections with My Reflection. I was drawn to this book. I've always wanted to be a writer. And I said I was going to do it. And I did, y'all. I wrote my first book in my 50s. It's a national award winner, by the way. I'm sure Crystal or somebody will put it in the chat. But when I wrote the book, I knew there were some things I wanted to talk about that were not common knowledge. But in order to completely tell my story, I had to decide if I wanted to leave them in, take them out. And I opted to leave them in, but I went to my children and I said, hey, I'm writing this book. There's some things you know, but there's some things you don't know. Can we talk about it? And we did. And in my case, this was this particular issue was a trauma that I had, but I had not talked to my children about it. I had carried it. And my son, who just spoke, when I went to him with it, he said, Ma, he said, I don't know anything about that. He said, and I'll never forget it, sitting on my couch right here in this house. He said, I don't know anything about that. I'll never forget the moment. He said, all I know is how you love me and my sister and everybody else around you. At that moment, I was healed from that by a young man half my age. At that moment, since that day, and then he said, have you talked to sister? I talked to her, same type of response. That thing is no more a thing with me. I was healed of something I could have been healed from years ago had I have spoken to them. Right? It was a situation in my life that very few people knew about because of the guilt and the shame. And I carried that with me, y'all. I carried that. It turned into depression. It turned into heart disease. It turned into all these negative things that impacted my life. And all I had to do was open my mouth and say, hey, this is what happened to me. And I need you to know. So that when people say they know me, you don't just know me because you saw me on social media. You don't just know me because you were at Heal the Hood and they said that's Mama Heal the Hood. You know me because you know me. And that was, in that case, that was all it took. But we're not having those conversations. We're not having those conversations. And it's not the fault of the young people. It's not the fault of the older people. We don't need to place blame. We need to prevent boundaries. We need to prevent, when people sit down and have a conversation, especially on a consistent basis, light bulbs begin to go off, doors begin to open, floodgates burst, tears come, healing comes, conversation comes, validation comes. And someone may never say to you, I was sexually assaulted, if they were. But again, what they will get is validation that they matter. They matter. If you don't feel like you matter in life, nothing else matters. And we've gotten so good at I'm going to fake it till I make it, and you know, all these kind of things that's BS. It's BS. It's what we tell ourselves to not deal with the real issue, to not be able to say, you know, Nestic, I'm hurting today. And this is why I'm hurting. Can I talk to you? Do you have a few minutes? Right? And you're not that busy. You know, you might have to say, I'll call you back. You might have to put a limit on it. You might have to say, I'm busy, but I got 10 minutes in between these two meetings. That I might only need 5. I might only need 5 of your 10 minutes to help save my life. And if you can help me save my life, then I can help somebody else save their life. Because this is not a one-person thing. This is not one agency. It's not WCASA versus Team Teal. It's not, we're in this together. We're in this together. And so many of us as survivors are one thought away from feeling our life no longer matters. One thought away from feeling like I have nothing positive that I can contribute. I've been on this earth over 60 years. I know a whole lot of things. I know a whole lot of things. I've learned to cope with a whole lot of things. Whole lot of things. And I've come out on the other side. And I won't say there's no evidence, because there is. But there's joy. There's purpose. There's love. There's love. And I'm not the violation that happened to me. I was a victim, but I've become victorious in my journey. It is so freeing and so rewarding to feel like at my age, what I carried for so long that I can lay down has been so freeing for me. It's been freeing for me. I value all of my relationships, particularly those with people who are younger than me, because I believe that not only can they learn from me, I'm not so foolish to think that I can't help them only, but they can also help me. They can also help me. So if I get into a situation where I have to deal with any other type of trauma at my age, I know that I have support, because I have the support before that trauma hits. So I know what to do. I think that every organization that deals with the traumas of sexual assault, I feel like every one of those organizations should search out volunteers who are older, not even ones who have been through sexual assault, but ones who know how to get through, ones who have learned how to find joy in a whole lot of stuff, right? Because I can sit on here all day and tell you about all the traumas that I've gone through in my life, but I'm still here. Yes, I dropped out of high school. Yes, my parents divorced. Yes, I was a drug addict. Yes, I got into prostitution. Yes, I attempted suicide. Yes, I was a single mom. Yes, this, yes, this, yes, this. But I'm still here. And I'm able to feel joy, and I'm able to give joy. And part of that is because of the relationships that I cultivate. And it doesn't take a lot. It doesn't take a lot. None of us are that busy. The elder people in our community have so much to give us. Even excluding this particular subject, they are a wealth, right? I believe there's an African proverb that says, young people hear everything. Older people know what to do about it. So you're going to end up coming to me anyway. Don't wait until it's a crisis. Don't wait until it's a crisis. Comments, questions? I'm hearing crickets.
There isn't anything in the chat.
Somebody chime in.
I'm gonna chime back in, Mother, after I got my face together.
And a lovely face it is.
Your wisdom is so, you'd be like, yeah, I'm 30 years, I'm an elder, but your wisdom was here long before you were a seed, honey. God knew what he was doing when he created you. And your guidance, your patience, I'm not sure of who's believers or not on the line, but when they talk about the fruits of the spirit, you possess all of them. People can be at their lowest and see your face and instantly get a high, instantly become better, instantly go from being sad to being loved in a second. And that is powerful. And it's not just me, I watch, I'm an observer. I watch everything, and I'm so protective of you too. But I honestly and wholeheartedly believe the world is better with you in it. And I know that it's going to be better when you leave too, because your seeds, those nuggets, those gems, those clarisms are going to be here long after both of us leave this earth. And I'm just grateful. I'm grateful for this conversation. I'm grateful for this season in your life. I'm grateful for you, like your family, for allowing us to share you, because that's heavy too. Some people just want their mama. They don't want the healer. They don't want and for you to be that to so many people and still walk around happy and joyous despite what you've been through. I'm just in awe just watching you and hearing you. So yeah, I'm just grateful. I'm grateful that they chose to put you on this panel, this discussion, because it was needed. And I believe that anybody that's listening, they found something to marinate on, and they found something that'll make them smile, or a reminder that they are enough, and that no is a complete sentence. Yeah, so I'm just grateful.
Oh, thank you, Crystal. Thank you, sweetie.
Lamika, go ahead.
Whew.
Hey, sweetie, how you doing? You doing okay?
I'm doing okay now.
Good, good.
I just want to thank you. Second opportunity I got to hear you speak. First time I got to hear you, I didn't know I needed to hear what you were saying, and I did. And today is one of those days that I needed to hear what you said again, and here you are. I'm just grateful. Um, you just don't know.
Oh.
Like, I can't express enough. I'm not a person that's like really good with expressing my words and
And that's
everything.
okay. And that's okay.
But thank you
That's
for
okay.
being you.
Absolutely.
You are
Absolutely.
appreciated.
Thank
Just
you
wanted to
for
let you know
taking
that.
time to sit in
Thank you.
and sharing your energy.
Thank you.
Y'all who do this work, y'all who are on this call, and I'm getting off topic, but Nestic said, what if she gave me the thumbs up, whatever. So I'm just gonna say that the work that you all do requires that it requires two things. It requires a lot of things, but there are two that you have to remember. One is that it requires you to know that you are enough. You do not have to have all of the answers all the time. And the other thing it requires is not only that you genuinely love, but you allow yourself to receive love. Right. And that's hard for some of us to do because, you know, we've been victimized. There's trust issues, there's family things, there's all these things that create these walls that we put around us, and we only let just enough out to do the work. But at the end of the day, when you're not doing the work, what are you taking in? You've got to give people more, or excuse me, you've got to give yourself more than what you give to people. You are your first investment. You are your greatest resource. If all you have is you, then I believe you have everything you need. And I believe that if you are open and you do the work, whatever else you need will come to you. Whether it is people, opportunity, open doors, peace, whatever it is that you need. But you've got to be willing to be open to that. When you think of being a healer and being a helper, that you all are, the first person you've got to help and heal is self. It's yourself. It's ourself. Sometimes, y'all, I will have a weekend where I will be fortunate enough that I don't have any commitments. I'm not keeping any kids. I'm not going anywhere. Y'all, I will get up. This is a transparent moment, but we family. I will get up in the morning. I will take off my nighttime pajamas, put on my daytime pajamas. I might not even brush my teeth that day. And I will get in my bed with my remote, my cat, a book, maybe some snacks. And I will look at this when it rings and be like, that's what text messages are for. Leave one. And if it's that big of an emergency, you probably should be calling the fire department or the police or something. Yeah. And I will have times like that. And that is so recharging to me, you know, because that's my way of loving on myself. I might do my nails. I might take 3 naps. I have a cat. It sleeps 18 hours a day. Sometimes I do too. We just nap together. We wake up, we both go eat, we get back in the bed. And then I have other days where I go hard. I have other days, Crystal can tell you, I have other days where sun up to sun down. People are my thing. People are my passion. People are my pleasure. People are my purpose. But there are parameters with all those people. And in order for me to sustain myself, and in order for me to be here another 50 years, I have to honor those parameters. And if you really love me, you'll honor them too. But I have to lead that charge. And y'all need to do the same thing. You work in a very tough field. It's hard, it's emotional, it's mental. You become a magnet for all kind of stuff. It's hard. Everybody can't do it. It's not for the weak. And I don't do it organizationally like some of you do. It's just my life. And even that sometimes, it just gets to be a lot.
Okay, I'm gonna stay in a child's place and not interrupt you as the elder while you're talking.
No,
but
interrupt.
you can stop saying y'all doing this work. You doing this work.
Well, us doing the work, right?
Are doing.
Us.
I ain't telling you what to do because I ain't grown. But what I am saying is that you are doing this work as well.
Us.
Yes. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you for that.
Mhm.
Thank you for that correction. But you know, the old people, when I was a child in church, used to always say, they used to say a lot of things, and I knew enough to stay in a child's place and not interrupt. Plus, I liked having my teeth. But I used to hear old people say, when I look back over my life at all that I have been through, my soul cries out. When you have people that you can connect to who can say something so powerful, you need to get with those people. You need to get with those older people. You need to sit at their feet. You need to sit next to them on the couch. You need to get on the phone and turn the TV off and listen to them, because I guarantee you there will be a day that will come and you will wish that you did. I can also guarantee you that if you keep living, you'll be that person. So I'm now that person. I don't get out all the time and go to everything and every, you know, sometimes I'll go to an event. Those who know me again will attest. I'll get in a chair, right, Crystal? And I'm going to sit in that chair for 3 hours and I'm not moving to see anybody. And if you want to see me, then the line forms over here, right? And it's not because I'm all that and I'm better than anybody else. It's about honor and reverence. You would, you know, we call our little girls sometimes, our little babies, sometimes we'll call them little mama. They would not be here without Big Mom. You would not be here without whatever older people than you did to get you to this point. You don't know what it took. You don't know the sacrifices. You don't know the traumas. I tell my kids all the time, when they were young, they did not miss a meal. But there were days that there was no food in the house. And I would put my kids in the car and we would go to my girlfriend's house and eat. It was rough. It was rough. I used to work 3 jobs at one time. And both my children today are well adjusted. They are happy. They are doing the work. They are changing the world. And they are both amazing parents. But I struggled. Somebody struggled for y'all too. Maybe you didn't see it. It might not have been the generation above you. It may have been 2 generations back, depending on what your family dynamics was. But somebody put in the work. Somebody dealt with the traumas of back in the day. Women belonged to everyone for whatever purpose they chose. So you can go back as far as slavery, and you know, the master would come and he could get the slave girl and all that. But even after that, women have always belonged to men. Not to say that there are not men who are sexually assaulted, because there are. But for the purpose of me being a woman, women have always belonged, right? And we've gotten to a place where we took the hit for y'all. We took the hit. We took the sexual assault. We took the racism. We took the domestic violence, right? Trauma is trauma. Trauma is trauma. Sin is sin, trauma is trauma. One is no greater than the other when you talk about living with that internally. And then what you're passing down to your next generation, the generation before you. And so even if it's not you coming to someone to get them to tell you if they were sexually assaulted, if they weren't, it's about finding out what they have that you need. Because through everything I've been through, I have found joy. I have found joy. And whenever I do talks like this, I always struggle with, okay, well, maybe you can say this, but you shouldn't say that. I live in a 3-bedroom, bath and a half house. I remember being evicted. I remember my kids having breakfast at the table, and the sheriff and the movers came and put our stuff out in the rain. I remember that. Now they know of it too, but at the time, they weren't processing it like that. The guilt, the shame that I felt. But I survived it, and I have found joy. I'm not the worst thing that ever happened to me. None of us are. None of us are. I got married and I needed to get divorced, but I hesitated because I was already a single mother. Now I was going to be a single mother and a divorcee. And I was so consumed with what everybody else thought that I was that I didn't see what I really. I'm enough. I'm enough. Scars, physical scars, mental scars, emotional scars. I'm enough. We are enough because we exist. We do the work because we have a heart for people. But we have to remember to connect, not just because there's a trauma that we know about. We have to connect because our purpose in life. No man is an island. We all need each other. Crystal's mom doesn't live here. Crystal needs a mom. I came along and she had another mom, right? She said that feeds her, but it also feeds me. It also feeds me. So while you have, the older people in your life, and while you have younger people in your life, because one day they grow up, they move out, hopefully, they'll have children of their own. You're setting a tone now for how they're going to teach their children to interact with them. We've gotten away from where you have 3 generations that live in a house. We used to have that. Y'all know about that. Grandma kept the kids while mom and dad went to work. We didn't have a daycare center on every block like we do now. Now everybody got to have their own space, and we have strangers raising our children. And we don't know what they're doing, how they're touching them, what our children can't tell us. They're babies. 6 weeks, you can go take your baby to a daycare center, but your mama lives the block down the street and you don't ever see her. And she's perfectly capable and willing. Something's wrong with that. Something's wrong with that. Okay, I'm going off on a tangent now, but I'm very passionate about that.
You can do whatever you want. So, does anybody else have any more questions, any more final thoughts before we wrap this up? Because if it was up to me, I'll let you get a break.
We'd stay here all day.
Go get a little lunch and we'll come back.
Right.
But it's up to me. I know you got things to do with your life.
I
So
appreciate y'all being here though, and I hope that I hope that you leave with something to think about.
mhm,
Something to think about. I've found a way to go through everything I've gone through on my journey, which has been a hell of a ride, and I have found joy. And I think if you were smart and you find people in your life, especially those who have gone through what you're going to go through, you would try to connect with them and find out what they know. I'm just saying.
yeah, if you haven't been to Black church before, we just had Black church.
Yeah,
Miss
we
Lady
just had
done,
Black church.
Miss Lady
so,
done gave
yeah.
us some points,
Just had
loved on
Black
us,
church.
and sent us out into the world to do better.
Out into the world. Fly
Now
now.
we are going to send the collection plate around.
Right.
And we'll go on about our day, okay?
Take up a membership.
Good times, Miss Clara. Like
And the A and B selection.
A and B selection. We'll have your son come back on. He'll give us a
right. He pray us out.
yeah, all that.
Girl, don't say it too loud because he'll pop up, honey.
All of
He will
that.
pop up.
Thank you. That's it. Thank you for giving us your time, your space. Thank you to your children for sharing you with us.
Absolutely.
We are just grateful. Yes, we're just grateful to have you in this space, to have your wisdom, and all of those kinds of things. Can somebody put your email address in the chat so that folks can receive more wisdom and more love and contract you in?
Sure. Crystal, can you do that for me? Oh, Crystal's not there.
She's gone.
I'll do it.
Angie, can you do it?
Yes, I can do it.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So, thank you.
Put her email address in the chat. Y'all make sure y'all bring Miss Clara into your spaces for whatever reason. It's not just about sexual assault, domestic violence. Clearly, she has wisdom in all the things. And so y'all make sure y'all bring her into y'all spaces at any opportunity that you can. If you all could put your own SAAM events in the chat, if you haven't already, we would love to add those to our listserv and make sure that folks can come and support that are in your area. We will be back at the same time, at the same place. Next week, we will have Andrew McKee. He is from Diverse and Resilient, and he will be talking about some stuff. I don't know what it is, but it'll be on the list.
Something good.
Yes, always amazing to have Andrew in the space as well. So not that we don't want to play a looking game with you all, but if you all don't have anything else, thank you for being here, and we will see you all next week.
Have a terrific Tuesday, y'all.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Miss Clara.
Absolutely.
You are the best.
Oh, you're the best too.